where did the name Nighthawk come from? What does it represent?
Mm-hmm.
I legit, when we first started promoting our first rifle class,
Yeah.
I had some lady messaging us on Facebook talking about, well, I don't want to be involved in no militia, and like, no, ma'am, that's not at all what it is.
No, that's
And
the second class. Come back later.
yeah, right. But I guess at the time it was just coincidental. There was something going on that happened to use like Nighthawk something
Mm-hmm.
that was drenched in some racist. I'm like, God, really? No. So, and if you look back, way back, one of the first posts we have as a Facebook page was explaining what the Nighthawk is, and not just stepbrothers. You can call me Nighthawk.
Yeah, there's been a couple of things that I've noticed with the Nighthawk name on there, and I forgot about that one. I was like, I'm Nighthawk, and I can't remember what John C. Reilly's character's name was on that one, because that was Will Ferrell, wasn't it? You can call me Nighthawk.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
Man, so I'm not a big Will Ferrell guy, so I don't watch a lot of his movies.
Yeah.
And someone made that reference, and I'm like, oh, you mean like from Step Brothers? And I was like, no. No. Do you know the background of why we used Nighthawk?
No, I don't actually. No,
So
I didn't get into that.
So back in the Wild West days of cattle herding and everything, when they were transporting the cattle, the guy that stayed awake on the night watch, the cowboy that stayed awake, he was called the Nighthawk.
Oh,
So he had the overnight as everyone else was asleep. He was watching over the herd, watching over everyone else while they were sleeping. And he was the protector at night. He's the one that if something was wrong, he would alert everyone, start waking them up, start fighting and fending off, whether it be wolves or whatever the threat was. So
okay,
that's why we went like, oh man, Nighthawk.
No, I like even more the fact that it wasn't just a whim of a name that actually was like, let's just go with that one. I'm like,
yeah,
to each their own. No, this actually has a history behind it. I didn't know that. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, man. So we really wanted to represent what the idea was and why we were doing it in the first place. I feel like Firearms has such a steep barrier for entry, which is why a lot of people get a firearm and it stops there.
Yeah.
Right. There is no follow-on training. They go to the range. They maybe shoot it a couple times. And, I have a gun. So I wanted to lower that barrier for entry. I mean, when we first started promoting the first rifle course, someone was commenting on the post, oh, rifle course for $100 ain't worth nothing. Like, look, just because that's what we're charging doesn't mean we're not putting out good information. The whole point is I want people to be able to get out to a course that they feel they can't afford, that maybe their skill set's not there. I mean, that's what the level 1 or the entry level classes and all those are for, is we're going to walk you through some of the fundamentals. We're going to shore those back up, and then we're going to add some other stuff to it.
Oh, absolutely.
And Uvalde being the thing that really took it from Michael and I being just him and I, hey, let's bring some people out on the weekend, to trying to get into an LLC in a company, was hearing the testimony of that teacher and the door that got propped open. Just with my background, understanding doors and their mechanisms, I understand why the door didn't latch and why she thought it was locked, but it wasn't locked. And now he had easy entry.
Yeah.
And that's where we started adding in the physical security risk assessment side of things. Is we want to touch as many places as we can to bring awareness to some of the simple fixes. Some of it's training, some of it's policies, some of it's just understanding doors break.
Yeah.
And especially ones that are outside doors, they're going to require a lot of maintenance frequently.
Oh, absolutely. And it's interesting that you say that, because I've expressed that to many customers now when I'm out at the range talking to, hell, I did it this past weekend when I was talking to a lady about how to ideally look for the best firearm for herself. And I told her, and I think we might be guilty, more so me, when we ended up selling firearms at the store. You good?
Yeah, no, you're good.
Oh, okay.
It's just
way over there.
How do you like my drag and drops, dude?
I was like, I like the multi-screen. So, but no, when we worked at the indoor gun range, and we would end up having some of those people coming in, especially during the COVID.
Mhm.
When COVID kicked off, we saw that influx of
And people were
people.
scared.
Yeah, and especially when that one news update that went out when the police officer was stating, it was like, "Do not call 911. We will be allocating our people to more important things, not these things." That's when the store spiked up on all our sales. Everyone was hitting their percentages and hitting their quotas that they needed, because heck, I never did until that week because of it. And
Yeah.
it's just a lot of people were scared, and it which makes sense. The only thing was is that actually, how many times did that happen in every other gun store in every other city in every other
Yeah.
state?
I mean, it got to a point, man. We couldn't keep firearms in
Mm-mm.
stock.
No. And the thing was, is I've spoken to quite a few of those people that were saying, I don't even like guns, or I don't even believe in having a gun, but it's a scary time right now. And I remember them saying that to me on the other side of the register. And I'm like,
Just think,
and they never, and oftentimes we even give the promotion. You purchase a firearm with us, you get the range for an hour for free.
yep.
Yeah. And did they use it? I don't know. Some of them did. Quite a few, I'm pretty positive, didn't. And that's the scary part, is how many were now out there with said protection with no further knowledge or training to understand how to utilize it in the best manner.
Hey, pull that. There we go.
How about now? Better?
Much better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of.
No, that works. That's fine. So let me know.
So whereas, it's just that position. It took me a while too, because I kept getting to where it was like, yeah, you just keep hearing puffs.
No.
Yeah, I always got to do the. Ah,
Yeah, it was like,
we got that on camera, everyone.
awkward. But no,
Yeah,
yeah,
we couldn't keep stuff in stock, man. And for a lot of people, that's as far as it went.
yeah. What was it? One box of ammo, one firearm,
If we
and
had ammo,
if we did, holy crap! That's during that year was it was a very good eye opening moment, and a great example to sit there and realize that these novelty rounds are maybe not the best things to have, like the 5.7s, the 357s, heck, 45
yeah.
for a while. Um, the 9mm Browning, heck, 380 was actually not a novelty round, but it was one that we just couldn't get for a while.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to sit there and think how mass hysteria really did, wonders in our industry, and but also the kind of detriment that it could create because of
Yeah.
the lack of supply.
So, and, I mean, that's why they said that not only were we trying to change the barrier for entry for Nighthawk, we wanted to change the perception. And I think the story lead we had at that range did a really good job in trying to select a crew.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
we obviously had
yeah, we had a great group.
but we still had people that were above questions, wanted to be know-it-alls,
Mm-hmm.
and would scoff at newbie questions.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, man. As much as you've heard a magazine called a clip, like I understand. Let's correct nomenclature, but
Yeah.
you ain't got to be. Oh, it's a magazine.
Yeah.
Like, whoa,
Yeah,
you're never gonna teach them. You
Mhm.
just gave them a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah, it's a bad experience.
Yeah, and now they're gonna walk away with that. And let's be fair, most gun stores have that perception.
Mm-hmm.
Most. It's rare to actually. I mean, we had a pretty solid crew, and again, we had
Yeah.
individuals, but we had a solid crew where it was mostly the customer service. Let's answer questions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I wanted to keep things with Nighthawk. There is no stupid question. We're going to teach you some high speed, low drag stuff, but we're also going to make sure you have a good, firm understanding of those fundamentals and work your way up there and build your confidence. I think shooting a gun is not hard.
Oh,
It's not
it's
hard
not.
at all,
No.
but it's understanding, it's the confidence in what you're doing. And I think one of the topics you had was talking about. Shoot, I had it written down. Oh, it was the muzzle awareness and safety tips and stuff.
Mhm.
And
Oh.
it's just sometimes it's not even the lack of knowledge, it's just the confidence or the understanding of the weight that goes behind the thing it is they're doing.
Mhm.
We just had a range operation, and it blows my mind to see how many people walk away with their security license and how many instructors are just handing them out instead of trying to hold a standard. Um, I mean, in the security industry, I see
Mhm.
a lot of unsafe firearm handling. And it's not because they're doing it because they don't care. It's because no one took the time to invest in them and teach them the right thing. Or someone that did teach them taught them some very bad things or didn't know what they were talking about in the first place.
Mhm.
But at the time was the most knowledgeable person. That person knew about firearms. So they got a lot of bad gouge and created a lot of bad habits.
Mhm.
Um, something as simple as finger off the trigger until you want that round to go off.
Mhm.
Just resting it there like it's a rest. Like no,
And
no,
and so the to sit there and realize the kind of power that you really have in your hand, I don't think quite registers to some people. Some people end up misunderstanding it, and some people over understand. What's the word for? There's a
underestimate.
not underestimate, but they overestimate
Oh,
the of what it really is. I was like to the point where it becomes like an anxiety or a concern. It's just a
yeah,
problem where they just like, and I get it. It's fine. It's we all start from somewhere, but it's the ones that don't have quite the understanding of what they're really holding on to that we always keep an eye on and we're always concerned with. And it's not anything out of a malicious intent or anything. It's just
no, pure
more
safety,
exactly.
pure safety.
And that was the thing working in a different industry. I had about a dozen guys that worked under me, and their safety was my biggest thing.
Yeah.
Probably because I didn't want to deal with the paperwork, but still, I was like, those guys are my guys. They're the ones I'm responsible for. So when it comes down to it, now I've actually jumped into a different industry where it's not just my team; it's actually the customer base as well. That's significantly higher clientele and a higher number of individuals that you sit there and realize is that the more we spend time in actually investing on these people, even if they're not paying for it, even if they don't care for it, it's the fact that we're putting effort on not only taking care of them for their safety, our people's safety, and our individual safety. This actually can go a long way down the road, and that's the big thing is if we just give someone literally a loaded firearm and let them go, it's literally the worst thing that we could probably ever do is by
Oh,
not
oh yeah,
actually just shepherding them to understand, hey, these are the things you need to take care and take into consideration to not necessarily be proficient, just to be a good gun owner.
yeah,
And that's one a lot of things I've realized a lot of people do not invest on and they're never been invested towards. So it's an interesting dynamic to see when you're actually on the other side of these doors.
yeah. So I will say, at least in the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, one of the range chains, they do a really good job when it comes to finding out if you're a first time shooter and you're
Mm.
there to rent a gun. Just making sure, like, they legit have an ambassador go out there with you, show you how to load the magazine, show you how to load the firearm, stands there as you fire your first handful of rounds to make sure. It blows my mind that no one really takes that time to explain to someone why transiting the bay with a gun in your hand, just the gun, no case,
You
no holster, just the gun in your hand, going from your backpack to your bay, like freaks people out. I'm like, look, well, it's unloaded. Sure it is.
know.
I don't know that. They
Yep.
don't know that.
Yep.
No one else knows that.
Yep.
We treat it like it's loaded
All
100% of
all
the
the
time.
time, every time.
And that booth and that direction is the only safe direction for that firearm to be
Hmm.
out of its concealment, out of its protection, and be handled.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I had wanted to talk about was awareness of our surroundings, situational awareness, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is we've had seniors, not just older individuals, people who are avid shooters who've been shooting that do this mistake quite often, where they end up unpacking the firearm behind the line of where the original firearm should be initially
Yep.
at before it's fired.
They're at that
And
loading bench in the back instead of
yes,
in their bay.
and I had a buddy of mine on Facebook that had posted a video clip of a guy doing that, and he just stands up and starts stretching, and he's flagging about a good 100 and about 110 degrees worth of an area. And I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, this is why I'm suspicious of gun ranges. That's why I don't like going to them. And I told him, that's my weekend every weekend, my dude. I
Yeah.
was like, I
Oh
deal
yeah.
with that every day when I'm out there. And
I
it's
mean,
scary.
and man, we see it a lot more
Mhm.
because of our exposure
Yeah.
at the range. But the fact that we see it as much as we do
Yeah.
harkens at the bigger problem.
Yes.
I think, and let's be fair, social media is to blame. They're so anti firearm to the point that good safe handling and practices gets banned.
Mhm.
But you can still find videos of faces of death. You remember that stuff
Holy
as a
crap.
kid growing?
Yeah.
I mean, you can still find those
Yeah.
videos on Facebook,
Mhm.
on YouTube. You can find them, but
But this
but
is what you guys want to have the
yeah,
Stonewall?
yes, how to safely handle the firearm, trying to promote responsible firearm ownership to the point that we have to question whether or not we can have a firearm in the frame without it blowing up or not blown up, but being shut down.
Yeah. And that's the bad part is that just that little thing can be misconstrued into something that it doesn't need to. But we understand that there's a stigmatism towards it. Is it necessary? No. I think it's overblown, and it's just one of those things that we have to learn how to maneuver properly. And it actually, and in all actuality, it makes us better in a way because we're unfortunately playing a game that someone else has a hand on, because they can nip everything in the bud before it ever even gets to see anyone's eyes and ears. But if we're able to maneuver certain ways in the conversation to be able to let people know, hey, yes, we have firearms. No, we're not the best in the world, but we promote trying to be the best that we can as individuals. And that's the thing is, we don't need to be the exaggeration of what they have in the media or on the movies and in the storybooks. It's just be better than you are. So this is a new responsibility that requires you to be better than what you were before you got it. And it's just interesting to see. You see all those videos of people just being stupid, being silly with it. The young guys having to treat it as if it's a toy. And I'm like, hold on, what goes up must come down. Stop doing this.
Well, so actually had this conversation similar, completely different topic
Yeah,
was Teslas and their full self driving.
yeah,
And they've made some changes to the NAG where the attention monitoring system.
mm,
Um, and they were like, oh, well, of course, Elon trying to have to lock it down. I'm like, no. Elon's not the one trying to lock it down. It's the government telling them you need to put guardrails on this
mm.
or we're going to lock it down because you've got people literally putting it on autopilot and going and getting in the back seat, taking a nap.
Yeah,
Like legit, there are videos of this dude and like he's had 4 or 5 Teslas towed, and this was before all the nag and everything because full self-driving used to be you put it on and do its thing.
mm.
You didn't have to mess with the steering wheel. It wasn't tracking you to make sure you were paying attention. It just went.
No.
And this guy was getting in the back seat, kicking his feet up with the pillow and everything, like he had a chauffeur. And the NTSB was like, this stops. Either you put guardrails in, prevent this from happening, or we're just shutting down the program at all until you get to level 5 autonomy where it is 100% no user involved.
Yeah.
It's done.
Holy crap.
So was that them or was that, well, we want to be able to progress this technology? I mean, look, every mile a Tesla is in autopilot, it's building data points and it's being stored and it's refining the model so it gets better every time it does it. The moment NTSB shuts that down, they lose their live data stream of all this input, and then progress just goes back to a crawl.
Yeah. And that's just to have that autonomy involved in your everyday usage of a vehicle. It has its benefits, but when it comes to like our firearms and such, our rifles, our shotguns, and everything, any of those things, I don't think there is really any form of autonomy that actually works
No.
to benefit, not to benefit, to actually protect and watch over. It still requires that human touch.
Well,
So
sorry. The point I was trying to get at was
yeah,
just people being stupid.
well, absolutely, yes,
People
yeah,
being stupid and
yeah.
regulations being put in place because of stupid people.
Oh yeah, and then unfortunately, it's the masses are usually judged on the count of few. So when stupid people do stupid things, they unfortunately ruin it for everyone else.
Right.
Yeah, we've been on that side before with this being in this industry. So we see the stupidity that ends up showing up on the news, on the web, and everything else, and then all of a sudden, here it is on court. I'm like, hold on, I had nothing to do with this. Why do I have to suffer?
Yeah. So going back to situational awareness and just paying attention
Mhm.
to handling the firearm, have you seen the video that just came out within the last week of the female officer going to disarm a guy and shooting him with his own gun?
Yes, I did. And oh my God, millionaire lawsuit and set for life. That's what I saw.
I mean, my thing is, and I've had some clients that were cops, and some obviously trained with their weapon,
Mhm.
some obviously hit the range once a year for qualification.
Yeah.
You're a professional. And while the hope is you don't have to use that tool ever,
Mhm.
ever, you still need to be proficient with it. You're going to come across those situations, and to negligently discharge somebody else's gun into their person as you're disarming them for your safety and theirs.
You don't get to walk that one back, unfortunately.
No.
Especially when he was being compliant.
Yeah.
He was doing exactly what an individual who is responsible with a firearm that's in a traffic stop should do.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that happens. He wasn't anywhere in the wrong. He didn't do anything from the
Yeah.
look of what it wasn't in the wrong. How she handled it, on the other hand, one of the comments I had read on there was like, why didn't she just take it with the whole holster? Why did she have to take it out of the holster? And I'm like, that's actually a really good point. No, that's
Yep.
yeah. Because here's the thing, where do you carry?
I mean, I appendix carry.
Now imagine, because you and I both appendix carry, and with one in there. So
Of course.
yeah,
I don't care what'll make her.
no, exactly. And that being said, just imagine you being in that position. I'm like,
Yeah. That's what bothers me. You're a professional.
You're supposed to be the best of society.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. There are bad ones.
But even
they're
still,
incompetent
nothing
ones.
about what she did was in malice. It was
No,
just
no, no, no.
negligence.
Yes,
It was 100%
and
negligence.
absolutely. And here's the thing: we do this at my job, where we see someone that does something that they shouldn't do. Whatever the case, we actually ended up ringing out one of our new guys that we had because he was loading a firearm while we had someone downrange. And bad part is that there was a customer with us, and 4 RSOs and a customer yelled at this dude while one of our guys was down there. I was like, "What the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
You should know this. If you don't know, you're about to learn this. We do not do this. We do not do that."
And it's just like, obviously that's not the place for you to work. Not yet. Not if you're not that situationally aware.
Mm-hmm.
Not if you're and I've always hated walk ranges where you have to walk down range, you got to wait for a ceasefire,
Mm-hmm.
just because of that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
how unsituationally aware could you be?
man, believe it, we yelled at this dude and was just like, "What is wrong with you?" We didn't try to make him feel too small, but we had to actually still sit there and like, do you realize what you just did? I was like, doesn't matter if he is 15 feet that way and 30 feet that way, he is downrange from said firearm. And here's the worst ones is that RSOs, yeah, we should never have those situations, but there is a great learning opportunity. I had a Marine. I had a Marine that actually was trying to challenge me on that when I was working on the rifle section. And sure enough, he's just standing right behind the table while everyone else is behind the red line or already downrange. So I'm hollering at the guy. I was like, "Hey, need you to have to step back." I was like, "Why is that?" I was like, "Because I got people down by the range, and you're next to a firearm." I was like, "It's cool. I'm a Marine." I was like, then you should know this rule even better than anyone else on this property. You don't tell me that. Get behind the red line. And sure enough, he was giving me attitude. Don't recall Marines having long hair during any form of deployment, but I didn't know. Yeah, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's a,
Once a Marine, always a Marine.
kind of, and that's what I thought. I was sitting there thinking that he's a former, so it's okay.
Okay, so I had a situation, and that happened kind of like that. I was at a range up in the Plano area, actually beautiful range, love it.
Yep.
I had an officer that was doing something sketchy and went to go turn around with the weapon, so I reached in to keep the weapon fired or pointed down range, and the RSO came running up. No, only one person in the booth at a time. He's got to put the weapon down. You don't transfer. I'm like, bro, hold on. He's like, no, you don't. Like, I understand. Thank you.
Okay. Get it out.
I was like, bro, he was trying to turn around with the gun. I was stopping him from turning around. But still, there's only one person. I'm like, I understand that. Bro, I get it. One person at a time. Understood. Hear me out. He was trying to turn around with it. That's all I needed to say. I'm not going to back and forth and argue it. Look, I'm not trying to be in there in the booth with him. He started to turn around, stopped him from turning around. Sorry if you thought it was something else. Got it. But I mean, I've had students at the range where we're removing them for safety violations.
Yeah.
And man, emotions get high sometimes on that. And whether they think like, look, range safety is always right 100% of the time. It doesn't matter what your intent was, what you thought you were going to do. It's what they saw in their crystal ball is about to happen. And they called the situation before it was allowed to escalate. And when I'm like, look, we can talk about it afterwards. Go sit down. Go take a breather. We'll both have but right now you're done.
Yeah.
Just you keep arguing it. You're done. Like,
and it's a really good learning opportunity, and it's a very good disciplinary, because imagine having to spend time, effort of coming out here, getting prepped and ready for this, all of a sudden for you to have to be treated like a dunce, having to go sit in the corner, and because you did something, and you're a grown ass man.
Yeah,
that's the worst part.
It hurts the ego a little bit.
It does. And here's the thing: it's not because we're trying to have to make it to belittle you. We're not trying to make you feel like a pariah.
No, we'll get there if you want.
We can get there, and it was like, and it will eject you out of here a lot quicker and with no refund. But here's the thing: it's a safety.
Yeah,
it's you get to go home. They get to go home. I get to go home. And if you do what you keep doing and they're not willing to learn what you did and how to better from it, none of us may get the chance to go home on account of that level of ignorance.
Yeah.
So, and it's interesting is I've heard of some ranges don't even do some of the things that we do at ours, where I've heard of places that they actually have just CCT cameras.
Yeah.
And they don't even have an RSO in the lanes. I was like, excuse you? I'm listening to customers tell me this because they're the ones experiencing it. I'm like, yeah, there's no RSO in there. It's just a guy in a camera in a booth outside. I'm like, really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
I haven't experienced it, but I've heard of it. I'm just like,
I'm positive you have.
And it's the scary part is to sit there. I was like, so how does one react and try to prevent, and if at the best of their ability, if they can? And sure enough, I think I've gotten the name before from a customer, but I have no recollection of who it was. Okay, so it was the one. So, well, and I've yet to go there. So I've been meaning to. I've driven past it just recently. I was like, oh, that's where it's at. So, but it's to be aware of your surroundings, not just as an RSO or even a teacher or a trainer, but just as an individual. And you saw how we handled mine earlier today, just now, when I was getting it away from us. I was like, I don't want it facing any other direction. Even though it is holstered, my hands are not going to be on it. I still have it facing a surface away from all of us and at a hard point, making sure that if it's going to do something miraculous.
Oh, so my monitor's a hard point. Thanks.
I mean, at least it's not your face. So, but of course, that's the kind of mindset that we should always have, whether it's holstered, emptied, taken apart, or fully loaded, in a range or out of a range. We should be handling it accordingly and with safety purposes and making sure it's constantly face down. It's not facing any other direction flat where anything could happen. Even if it's going to face upwards, we do it for a very brief period where it doesn't need to be up for very long. Especially with us having to have one in the chamber. God forbid something goes up, it's going to come down.
So at our recent range ops,
Yeah.
um, the modified Charlie's Angel,
Oh,
uh,
the Fishers.
uh,
No,
le- no. Like legitimately
what is it? What I don't get.
barrel chin, like
Who's doing that?
oh yeah,
Oh my.
scary man, like
Oh,
and trying to like go in redirect, like hey no, muzzle stays flat,
finger off that trigger.
and you
Finger off
know
that trigger for the love of
so
God.
some of the stuff we do is because we can't do a whole lot of holster work on the out in the normal bay. So we to at least get them used to kind of the punch out is they're in the compressed ready, punch out, come back, punch out, come back. But yeah, every time they came back, it was like they're like
And it's interesting though, like
try to give yourself a nose job, huh?
and it's
cut a
funny.
little tip off.
It's funny is I think you and I spoke about that last time was you do something 1,000 times and you get into the motion of doing it just to come to realize that you've been doing it wrong, and now you got to train yourself and teach yourself out of it. And it's interesting, because when it comes to that, I don't usually start off that high before I punch out. Usually mine's right at that towards that last couple ribs. So right where the sternum ends is usually where everything sits, and that's when I rise versus having to get so high and just push out. To each their own. There's no necessarily right way or wrong way. It's all preferential and different for everyone. But interesting enough to see what happens when you introduce a method and how someone royally botches it by introducing something different.
And I'm actually, I mean, they're more than welcome to be down here.
Mhm.
We're just more interested about the compression before the punch out. So whether that punch out is kind of angular or up here and up, I'm not worried about that. Just them going between position 3 and position 4.
Yeah.
Back and forth. And every time it would retract back, they said they were just trying to trim a little off the top.
It was like, you're going to take something off, that's for sure.
So muzzle awareness, though.
Yeah.
It blows my mind how many people don't realize what their barrel's actually pointed at. I mean, because I've had people like they're pointing it at the ground, and I'm like, cool, look down. That's your toes. That's your foot. We had a Marine that luckiest dude alive that I know. Indeed, his rifle into his foot. It split the gap between his big toe and like the next one over. He had some burn marks.
Get out of here. Holy crap.
Like
just imagine that. I was like, every time you rub your toes, you just sit there and it's like, I almost lost one of you.
Yeah.
Holy
or
crap.
both of them.
Yeah, right? Oh my
I mean, think if they were wedged up there in his boots instead of having a little bit of room. Like legit had some burn marks. They gave him some burn cream.
Oh, holy crap.
So not being aware of his rifle, or his barrel, where it's pointed, and people do it at the range all the time. The people walking through a bay with a gun in their hand, like you're pointing it at but it's unloaded. I don't know that.
I was like, if someone ended up seeing that from down the range and they're not a range safety officer and they felt threatened, they wouldn't exactly be in the wrong to feel the way that they do. So let's prevent this from everyone just feeling some kind of way.
You get those range officers that are on some weird ego trip.
That's me. I just want to be able to make sure I don't have to deal with any paperwork. That's my thing.
And I'm not saying that there isn't a time and a place to like holler at someone. But I have found, like, I'm just saying, like, the guy that barks like a marshal, he's always an ass, just always a jerk. And like one of the things I learned being at boot camp and cycling through so many recruits that have never touched a gun, who are already high on nerves, who are already super anxious, is if your finger's on the trigger and I startle you, you're very likely to pop a round off. So if I start or I touch you and you don't expect it and you flinch, And if I'm already concerned because that barrel's starting or is pointed at me, if I holler and I bark and I jump,
Mm-hmm.
you're very likely to pop around off in me anyway. Where instead of the subtle redirect,
Yeah.
and then like there's a difference between I'm trying to get your attention from downrange or I am yelling at you because I am in a situation of authority
Mm-hmm.
and I'm trying to put you in your place. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're not helping that person improve the situation that they just found themselves in. Do that subtle redirection. Now, I mean, if they're doing it over and over and over again, all right, pack your stuff, you're out of
Yeah.
here. But like I say, kill them with kindness almost
Yeah, the
because
yeah, the initial introduction shouldn't be the scariest thing that they ever experience.
but I'm saying even
But
someone turning
yes.
around with that loaded
Oh
gun
yeah.
instead of the what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a hey, whoa, hey man, like look,
Mm-hmm.
you just started it and talk them through what
Mm-hmm.
just happened instead of screaming at them.
Mm-hmm. No,
Because if you
agree.
scream at them, they shut down, run that risk of that ND
Yeah.
into you.
Yeah.
Or I mean, so a lot of the ranges are upgrading their boots now. They got AR 500 steel, so you're not going to get shot through the booth. But if I'm in the booth with you and that round hits and there isn't enough spalling protection,
Yeah.
I'm still catching frag and everything.
Yeah.
If I am in that booth with you, the last thing I want is an ND in any direction other than
Yeah,
downrange.
and absolutely right, and that's the thing with uh having to actually know the people you're working with. My clientele is a revolving door, is constantly coming and going. So there's a lot of regulars, but there's a lot of new people as well, and that's the beauty of us having to interact with all of them. They don't just go in and then have to take a booth of their own. We sit there and communicate with them, ask them if they've ever shot here before, are they familiar on the usage of the firearm, what type of firearms they have. I could care less if you have the firearm that took out a president or the one that is supposed to be the one that cures the any kind of ideology that you might have. I don't care what kind of gun it is. And some people, I get it. It's their precious. It's their little ring. Don't you touch my firearm. I was like, I don't want to touch it. Handle it like you're supposed to, and I won't have to. And it was like I've seen $4,000 or $5,000 firearms. I've seen rifles that it was like pristine and never been shot. They want to pop that cherry. They want to be the first one. I was like, I don't care. I just want you to do what is necessary to
Be
make sure
safe.
it is safe. Because if
Safe.
you're not going to take this serious, I have to get you out of here because I have a business to keep going with, and I don't want to have to be on the other end of a barrel off of negligence.
I told you about the dude flying his helicopter at the gun range, right?
I think so. Yeah, yeah, you did. I was
Yeah.
like, nope, nope.
Like,
I never told you who a political figure has flagged me. I'm gonna let that sink in. A political figure has actually flagged me, not with one firearm, with two firearms at my current job.
we'll have to talk about that offline.
I was like, I won't say his name, but what was it? He's got some names that sound very familiar from famous characters in some movies.
Hey,
And I always get him mixed up for being the original Batman, the old television Batman. I can't remember his name, but if you put those names together, he's the other guy. That was the scariest thing I've ever experienced. He came out to do a speech, and then all of a sudden, I end up seeing him come out with two firearms. Oh, I saw her earlier. So he comes out with two firearms, and one's a like an M14. And sure enough, he's just holding it down. It's not face down. It is faced at a good 45-degree angle low. And he's walking up to me, and there goes my crotch. I'm like, do me a favor. Let's put that down. And sure enough, he's a quick, brief conversation right there, and it comes right back up. I'm like, I'm getting way too comfortable on having to put your own gun down. And sure enough, when I got him into a bay, his 45 Thompson that he had strapped on his shoulders, he starts whipping it around, and all of a sudden I'm walking behind him, making sure he's in the booth. Whoop! I was like, oh my God. This guy was running for president, and I'm
what
like,
was the stamp on the nose of that round?
oh my God, dude. And that was the thing, is the beautiful rifles. These were supposedly stamps on them that actually had seen war, supposedly. But the thing was, it's like, cool, I don't want to get clapped by one of these. And it was like, especially by this guy. Nothing against him, just you don't want to be that guy that's trying to have to promote this, and then come to find out you're the one that actually ends up killing an RSO
Yeah.
because of your negligence. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, so I got that luxury. And that little footnote I could put in my life. I was like, yeah, I had a politician actually flag me with 2 guns. So,
Nice.
oh yeah. So
Not nice, but nice.
who gets to say that? How many people get to say that? Oh yeah, Bill Clinton got me once. No, like what? No, it wasn't him. It wasn't him. It wasn't him.
So
But just imagine that.
I got to drive a VP's getaway vehicle, and also got to drive his sister's car.
Really? What was that car?
I don't remember what it was. Not.
Yeah.
It was not. I mean, it was just. I mean, it might have been like a Subi or something.
Ah,
I mean, just a car.
there you go.
But not many people can be like, "Oh yeah, I drove a XVP's sister's car."
Right? It was like, oh, what was it? I'm like, it was a car.
I don't remember what kind of car it was.
Wow. But
Um,
no, it's it's interesting, especially with your line of work that you're working in. You have relatively good value individuals. So you got VIP, don't you? Like people that are well
um,
known, or just
so, I mean, yeah. So I think it had to have been right around the time that we did the first one.
Mhm.
Um, one of the guys from the Newsboys, Michael.
Okay,
I did some PPO stuff for him.
okay,
I mean, I don't do a lot of PPO stuff, man. It's not my forte. Obviously, I can do it. I enjoy halls and walls just aren't my thing. I
yeah, just sitting there.
stand around waiting for stuff to happen isn't my thing. I'd much rather be on the advanced team.
Mhm.
I'd much rather be on the planning team. I'm like a T-Rex. I need that motion to draw my attention. And if I'm left to my own devices and my brain, and I'm not gonna be on my phone. I mean,
No, you're just gonna be twiddling with your thumbs.
but my brain's gonna be playing like 1920s cartoon Nickelodeons, and just
So,
I think I gotta right. It's just that'll and I need so while the VIPs out there, they're in
yeah,
the crowd, we're moving.
yeah.
I'm spot on. I'm over it. But if we're in a hallway, like I'm just
Brain dead.
yeah. And
So,
then that's when the VIP walks out and they're like, just is he all right?
no, he's fine. He's just downloading. So, PPO, protection
Personal
officer.
protection officer,
Okay.
bodyguard.
Okay.
It's the classification Texas calls
Gotcha.
it. It's a level 4 security license.
Gotcha.
It allows you. It's the only license in Texas for security that you can like concealed carry.
Oh, really?
Level 3 is like your uniformed officers. It has to be visible. It can't
Mhm.
be concealed. They have to have security. Like
Some kind
it
of
can't be ambiguous at all. If
Gotcha.
you're a level 3, it needs to be very obvious you are an armed security officer and who you work for
while working.
while working.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so like an LTC does absolutely nothing for you in the security business.
Really?
Like you couldn't just go start doing bodyguard work with
Just
your
'cause,
LTC.
yeah. You have to start from scratch.
I mean, man, it's like between the level 2, the level 3, and the level 4,
Mhm.
you're don't quote me on it, somewhere around 60 hours of class. That's
Okay.
it. That's it. 60 hours. Here's your shirt. And that's part of the problem is there are schools that are literally selling the pieces of paper. I mean,
Yeah.
just like you've seen LTC instructors that you've seen some targets and you're like, there's no way that was a 175. There's no way that was a 175.
I was like, you got a quota meet by chance? You got a quota that you
No.
just want to have to hit on? Because
No, I had a lady complain to corporate when we were at that range
yeah,
that she didn't think it was fair that I fouled her because she was bad. And she was bad.
it is what it is. And that's the interesting thing. Like we had mentioned earlier, is that people don't actually take the time to advance their skills.
No, she just
And-
thought it was gonna be a gimme.
No, and that's the thing. And you there are people out there that think it's just quick as point and shoot and as easy as that. I was like, you're not wrong, but you're not right. I was like, it is as simple as functioning said firearm. The problem is that you need to be proficient with said firearm. And that's what I like about what we're aiming here for is even if they had we don't judge. We're trying not to judge. we're going to judge, but we're not going to be to their face. And that's one thing I will admit, that the job that you and I both worked at together, they did really good on having to really instill in me. It was like, don't judge and talk bad about what they're purchasing or what they own, because you don't know what their situation
Yeah.
is. I was like, oh, you know what? You're right. You're right. And that being said, whatever they have on the hand, or what they can afford, or whatever they are capable of only being able to really function for whatever reason, it's best that they become proficient in it. And if it's the worst trigger in the world, with the heaviest platform in the world, with the smallest capability of ammo capacity on it, it doesn't matter. As long as we understand that this is what they want, we should be able to teach them to have to be the best they can with
Don't buy High Point. Just don't.
it. Well, there goes our promotions right there and our support. That's going to survive the apocalypse, and that's going to be the only thing we're going to have.
I don't care. Don't buy a High Point.
But
For the price, there are better other options. Don't buy a High Point.
And see, and
unless it's for the point of it's a yeet cannon. Like
the mockery is there. I was like, just be honest. If I did buy one, it'd be simply for the fact that we're going to make fun of it.
So what's funny is, do you know what I bought Mandy for her first gun?
No. I'm trying to think of something fun now.
Dude, just throw something out there.
I'm going to
think of the thing we make fun of people for. Like, oh, I can't believe they bought that. You know, that's about to wind up in the street within 42 hours.
I'm thinking of Sky.
Boom.
That was an SCCY.
Yep. So I got her an SCCY because it has the double trigger.
Okay. Yeah.
12-pound, 1.5 mile long trigger pull.
Uh-huh.
And that was to get her on par with one, muzzle awareness.
Yeah.
I'm very, very poignant of where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And if there was the accident of my finger on the trigger, it's a very
long, work for it.
Heavy trigger pull.
Yeah.
Instead of, not to say that it negates the learning of it, but if she's clearing the house and still not comfortable,
yeah,
and the dog comes around the corner, instead of a bang,
yeah, she still has 7 more pounds of pull.
Yeah, exactly.
No, and it makes perfect sense though.
So, but that was the first one, and she started to learn with it, and not to mention double action on the trigger. Some of the best way to learn trigger control. If you can keep the sights aligned and flat the whole pull through, and learn the pause right before it breaks, so you're still getting up to your wall and then breaking it.
Wait, that thing has a wall. I know it has a creep. It doesn't even have a play in there.
So I wouldn't say it's like a striker firewall.
Yeah.
I've always, because even the Beretta, and it's something, the Beretta 92, I can't tell you, or the M9, I have dry fired millions of rounds to that thing, and it doesn't have a wall, but you know, you feel the spring tension build, and it's like that bevel.
Yeah.
And I swear on the Beretta, I can find it and play with it.
Really?
I mean, just sitting there dry firing, and I can bounce back and forth and feel that bevel and know if I go just a hair further, it's a bang. And learn it. And when you can maintain that kind of control over the trigger, you'll be able to do it on anything else.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And that's the beauty of it is that like we mentioned again earlier, is that's what you have. Let's make you the best at that. And the good thing is that because of some of its, I won't say downfalls, we see it as an unnecessary benefit, I guess you could say. It's a really good learning opportunity, great learning tool to have to still learn everything from the basics on firearm manipulations, magazine reload, having to actually have a proper posture on the firearm, and then biggest one of all is just having to learn how to get those that trigger, because every trigger is going to be different. Every gun is going to be different, but they all run very similar. It's like it's got sights, it's got a slide, it's got a barrel, it's got a hand grip, it's got a magazine, or some form of bullet that's being contained on the platform. And the biggest thing is that trigger is always going to be that factor that changes everything on, this is my ideal firearm, or this is the one that I don't want in and around me. And the SCCYs, perfect little truck guns. Why? I'm not going to give ideas on it, but it's a really good truck gun. So
hey, there you go. Did you know the old policy they used to have? And the ATF told them, no, you can't do that.
No, what?
So Their policy used to be if you provided them with a police report for lost or stolen,
Yeah.
they would replace it.
Really? For who?
SCCY.
Really?
If you provided them with a police report, they would replace it.
Man, how many times would I want to lose my sky? I'm like, can I try the Tiffany blue this time? The pink one just didn't.
What are you
stick
doing,
out.
neighbor? Digging a lot of fence posts, huh?
Dude, it just, and it's just, and I mean, great policy on it. So, but to each their own. And that was one thing. The customer services that we had at the previous company was good to have to see how everyone really mingled. And
I would say there.
yes, there. Yes. And then that was the reason. Our manager did a great job on having to pick a team. She did a great job. But I've stumbled across a customer who actually purchased this, and she was an elderly lady. I was like, ma'am, you
The
do
SCC?
not. Yes, they gave
Oh.
her an SCCY. And I'm like, ma'am,
No, you need a Shield EZ9.
yeah. And then that was the one we were trying to get into recommendation because she had came in with, this is the one I bought and I don't like it. And I was like, yeah, that trigger pull is atrocious. I'm sorry that whoever sold you this pushed you towards this or convinced you towards this, but this is be the less ideal firearm for you. And thankfully, being out in the field more because we were limited on what we could do at that location. Being out and about at this new job that I'm at, I am hands on with damn near every single firearm out there. I'm not touching every single one, but I'm getting introduced to some, and especially when it comes to teaching and showing people things. And sure enough, the recommendations that we have was like, bam. Actually, you know what? Amanda. I was like, when you go shoe shopping, do you put those shoes on first before you buy them? See, same exact thing.
I always give the example of you drive the car before you buy it, don't you?
That's a good one as well. And I've used those analogies before to have to express that the firearm is going to be the exact same thing. You do not put something in your hand that you are not going to like just simply because it goes pow.
Dude, when I was selling cars, I had this little old lady. Every car we looked at, she had to do the door close test. It had to have that right thud.
Oh, really?
Like, it can't sound like a tin can. I ain't buying no car when you slam that fucking door. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna have to beep that. But she legit, she's like, if I have to slam that effing door and it sounds like a tin can, I ain't buying a car. I was like,
she knows what she wants. She knows what she wants. So, and that's the thing is when we're learning on how to find the ideal firearm for ourselves and as individuals, just got to see about having to make those recommendations. Like, hey, this is what you should look for. This would probably be more ideal. What is your intent with it? You want to carry this? Do you want to have this at home or in a vehicle? Whatever it is. So is this going to be something utilized by everyone, or is this specifically for you?
Yeah.
And it's a really good talking point when you sit there and realize that you're kind of sitting there conversing with the customer more than you are really kind of showing and letting them shoot. But that's where you have to be as a good RSO and a good teacher and trainer, and understand that you just do not run away with that. Take a step back.
Yeah. So the problem I have with like the setup they have is, one, I hate any position that's paying on commissions. I get it, but everything feels like a sales pitch.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm at that gun store, you had someone that was probably paid on commission that was pushing it because she came in not knowing what she was talking about. Oh, I need something. I've got like $300. Boom, I got you right here. $249. And that was it.
Yeah.
Right. And someone got their commission, whether it been total number of firearms or total value sold for the week, like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They got, and that's what pushed her in there instead of proper education, instead of teaching her about the firearm.
Mm-hmm.
And if I didn't think it was a sale, you weren't worth my time. So I scoffed at it, tried to dismiss your questions as quickly as possible and push you out the door so I could get a sale. I hate when stores resort to that, especially for something like that, like cars. I don't like the situation, period. I'd much rather the price is the price and the guy's there to educate you instead of he gets kickbacks based on how many of them he pushed out the door.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. It incentivizes, but at what cost?
I've actually been guilty for promoting another gun range because their rental policy is better than ours. And that's the big thing, was like, put it in your hands. And if you get a chance to fire it, do it. Please do those two things. Put it in your hand, see if it feels good. And if it doesn't, get another one.
I tell everyone,
yeah,
test fire the gun.
Mm-hmm.
and not like 5 rounds, but like put at least a full magazine, or not a full mag, a full box, a full 50 rounds through the firearm.
Mm-hmm.
Get an idea.
Yeah.
Did you like the way it bounced? Was your recovery on it quick? Did it feel good? Did you manage the recoil well? Was the trigger pull what you're looking for? Was the wall crisp? Was the reset? Like all those factors, just like you would test drive that car.
Mm-hmm.
Does this car have the whoopee I need to take me from 30 on the on ramp to 70 with the rest of the traffic?
Mm-hmm.
Or does it pitter and sputter and 4 cylinders wasn't enough?
Mm-hmm.
You got to test drive it,
Oh, absolutely.
especially if it's your first firearm.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you hate your first firearm, that's your last firearm most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the I don't like guns, but you shot one for the wrong reasons without the education. You formed an opinion. Unfortunately, that's not quite educated.
No, it's not. And it's like religion. It's when people go into a religion that they don't know anything about, they unfortunately get left behind with that newfound belief without being guided, taught, shepherded, and shown how to be able to not maneuver, how to be able to just walk in this new path that you've just gotten into. And it's the exact same thing. If we give someone that gun and we do not entertain the possibility of them being able to utilize that firearm, what are we doing? We're literally giving, well, damn near giving a child a gun. And then he was like, "Hey, good luck." I'm like, no, because the luck is going to be me catching that, and I don't want to catch anything.
But that's why, as an instructor, I did fail people.
Mm-hmm.
Her complaint, the old lady
Mm-hmm.
complaint to corporate was that he's not going to be there if I find myself in a shooting telling me what to shoot. Like, you're absolutely right, ma'am, but the course of fire is prescribed by the state. The state says you must do this
Mm-hmm.
and pass with an X amount of score in order for he did the right thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure she probably went and spent $40 because she already had the certificate that said she did the classroom portion. She probably went to another range.
Mm-hmm.
Another instructor was like, "Yeah, give me your $40. Whoop. Yeah, there's my signature."
Yeah.
Now that lady's out there carrying, where at least, I mean, now we have got constitutional carrying. That's a whole other podcast we could talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And people always bring up there's no training involved. I'm like, cool. You know how much, and we'll talk about it real briefly here before we cut this one short. But what training as far as handling and shooting your firearm do you get when you go through the LTC class?
Sorry. It's the bare minimum.
No. You get law.
Mm-hmm.
Law. What happens if you don't handle your firearm correctly? Law.
Mm-hmm.
How to properly lock and secure it. And if a child gains access to it and causes a death or an injury, law.
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes of safety. All right, we're going to go out to the range. You ready?
Like, yeah, it's more legalese than anything else. Yeah.
Nothing about that class actually teaches you how to operate that firearm. One, we don't have the time. There's probably in a class of 30, there's probably 13 different firearms, makes and models that we're not going to have the time to fully talk about how to load the magazine. Like, we could talk about the basics. Like, generally, this is how you load a magazine.
Yeah.
Generally, this is how you load and make ready. But now do we have to separate it for all the wheel guns that are in the? It's just, there isn't time for that. The whole point of that class is to teach you the law, the do's, the do nots, the cans, the cannots, the can, but probably shouldn't.
Yeah, I was like, and this isn't legal advice, but don't do this or do that. I'm like, okay, so should I or should I not? And
I've always tried to remove my opinion from my classes.
Yeah.
There's nothing more than I've ever hated than an instructor being like, "Oh, well, this isn't legal advice." Like, then it shouldn't be leaving your mouth.
Yeah.
I should not have to have that disclaimer. You're going to cause confusion.
Yeah.
It needs to 100% be, you can, you cannot. Talk to a lawyer if you have any questions about anything in between.
It's like, cool, I've got a phone number for you.
Because you're never going to be able to, it doesn't matter how many times we talk about it and change the little details, it'll never happen that way. And it'll be that one tweak in the details that makes it go from a justified shooting to an unjustified shooting.
Oh yeah, that's a podcast in itself for sure. Having to sit there and try to understand that mindset, and I won't even dabble in it because I don't know a whole heck of a lot of it. But I know that there's a way that you have to you have to have a conversation in order for you not to literally loop yourself into the hole.
The what if game. That's why I love playing the what if game. But with that, we're gonna cut this one.